All right. Good afternoon. The Secretary General is on his way back to Baku in Azerbaijan to attend the closing segment of COP 29. We expect him to have a press point with your colleagues in Baku tomorrow at about 2:30 p.m. local time. You'll be able to watch it on our web platforms. While there, he will be meeting with various negotiating groups and ministers in a push for countries to reach a climate deal before the end of the session. Our peacekeeping colleagues in southern Lebanon tell us that they remain very concerned about the ongoing hostilities between Hezbollah and the Israel Defense Forces. UNIFIL peacekeepers report continued clashes, exchange of fires, and airstrikes. The impact on civilians remains of grave concern, and we, of course, condemn all loss of civilian lives. Parties to the conflict must adhere to international law and protect civilians as well as civilian infrastructure. We continue to support efforts towards a ceasefire and a diplomatic solution. And just to flag that yesterday, the Security Council held close consultations on the implementation of Security Council Resolution 1701 and the escalation of hostilities across the Blue Line. They received briefings by Jean-Pierre Lacroix, the head of our peace operations, who was here with you yesterday, and the special coordinator for Lebanon, Janine Hennis-Plasschaert. The report of the Secretary General on 1701 is scheduled to be issued 1 week from today. Also in Lebanon, our humanitarian colleagues are telling us that nearly 2 months into the wide-scale escalation of the conflict, the human toll continues to mount, with some 3,000 lives lost and more than 770,000 people displaced in this short period of time alone. During the same period, UNICEF reports that more than 200 children have been killed, representing an average of 3 children dying every day. The health sector is also heavily impacted, with 190 health workers killed in less than 2 months. Some 50 primary health care centers and 8 hospitals have also been forced to close, leaving countless people without access to essential services when they need them the most. We remind once again the parties that under international humanitarian law, medical personnel and healthcare facilities must be respected and they must be protected. Despite increasingly challenging environment, we and our partners have continued to deliver critical assistance to those who need it. Since 23rd of September, 65 humanitarian convoys have transported critical aid to people in conflict-affected regions of Lebanon. In addition to food, tents, solar lamps, mattresses, and medical supplies, humanitarian partners have provided more than 1.6 million liters of bottled water and over 42 million liters of water through trucks. We've also delivered around 600,000 liters of fuel to support water pumping stations and other operations. Furthermore, UNICEF tells us that there is significant efforts to support the reopening of public schools in Lebanon, providing individual learning materials to more than 135,000 students. Thank you. Turning to the situation in Gaza, the Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs warns that bakeries serving as lifelines for hundreds of thousands of hungry or starving Palestinians in the Gaza Strip are on the verge of shutting down, if they haven't already, due to lack of flour and fuel. This comes at a time when parts of northern Gaza are at imminent risk of famine, and in central and southern parts of the Gaza Strip, partners are reporting a stark increase in the number of households experiencing severe hunger. Our colleagues with the World Food Program tell us that as of today, only 7 of the 19 bakeries supported by humanitarian partners in Gaza are still operating. That's 2 in Deir al-Balah, 1 in Khan Yunis, and 4 in Gaza City. Meanwhile, 7 UN-supported bakeries in the Rafah and North Gaza Governorate closed due to ongoing hostilities. 3 bakeries in Deir al-Balah and Khan Yunis that are still running are being supported by our partners. They're still working at full capacity at the moment they meet the extremely high demand, but have only enough flour to to stay operational through the end of the week. Several other bakeries in these areas were forced to cease operations earlier this week due to lack of flour. 4 bakeries we mentioned in Gaza City have been forced to reduce their capacity by 50% since yesterday afternoon due to dwindling fuel supplies. These shortages stem from delays in fuel deliveries due to the ongoing safety and security challenges accessing supplies entering Gaza through the Kerem Shalom crossing, and I think we've been very clear about what those challenges are, to say the least. OCHA warns that once again that armed looting, fueled by the breakdown in public order and safety in Gaza, has become increasingly organized. This is also endangering aid workers, making it almost impossible for humanitarian organizations to do their jobs. OCHA tells us as of Monday, the Israeli authorities have facilitated just over 40% of the nearly 320 planned humanitarian movements across the Gaza Strip this month. The rest were either denied, impeded, or canceled due to security or logistical challenges. And you saw, just to stay on the subject, you saw that this morning the Security Council failed to adopt a resolution concerning a ceasefire in Gaza. Immediately following the vote, there was a private meeting on Myanmar with Special Envoy Julie Bishop briefing along with Alunko Kitikum, who also briefed the council. And you just heard on Haiti from Ulrike Richardson, so I won't go too much into details. She's, of course, our resident coordinator in Haiti. Yesterday afternoon, you saw that we issued a statement in which the Secretary General said he is alarmed by the escalating violence in Haiti, where armed gangs are reported to be gaining ground in the capital. The Secretary General also said he strongly supports efforts by the Haitian National Police with the backing of the multinational security support mission to address the ongoing violence, and once again reiterated his pressing call to ensure that the MSS mission receives the financial and logistical support it needs to successfully implement its mandate. And of course, he talked about the need for progress in the political transition. Miroslav Yencha, the Assistant Secretary General for Political and Peacebuilding Affairs, will be briefing the Council on Haiti this afternoon at about 3 p.m. We'll get those remarks to you. Today is World Children's Day, and in a message, the Secretary General says on this day and every day, let's protect and support children as they meaningfully contribute to making our world a better, brighter, and more peaceful place for all people. Also today, we mark the 35th anniversary of Africa Industrialization Day. In the message, the Secretary General underscores that today we celebrate the inspiring progress and economic growth the continent has achieved over the past decades. If you are looking for something to watch in the coming days, we're pleased to announce that our short film produced by the United Nations entitled The Epic Trial of Congo's Most Notorious Warlord has been recognized by the Anthem Awards, which is a social impact award. The film has won in 2 categories, first for its impact on human and civil rights, as well as diversity, equity, and inclusion. The 13-minute film dives into the harrowing story of Netabo Taberi Sheka, the notorious warlord who brought terror to eastern Congo, and the efforts by the UN's partners, including the peacekeeping mission and the Congolese authorities, to bring justice to his victims. It was produced by the Department of Global Communications and the Department for Peace Operations. We have money. I mean, not for you, for me. Sorry, Sherwin. We have payment to the regular budget. The country that has paid in full has many UNESCO heritage sites, including the Tabriz Historic Bazaar Complex, the Shustar Historical Hydraulic System, and 15 sections of the broad-leafed, and I'm going to mispronounce it, Hykranian Forest. What country are we talking about? Yes.
Iran.
Yes, we are talking about the Islamic Republic of Iran, and they paid their regular budget dues in full. We thank them. It's 146 member states. All right, now that I have the money, I will take the questions from Ms. Bashir.
Thank you. Just on the Gaza...
What?
Oh, go ahead, sir.
I forgot he won the quiz.
It was a group effort.
Okay, it was a group, okay. Okay,
Marion
all right.
started it, it's
Calm
true.
down, all right.
I think everyone has the same question, so don't worry about it. Does the Secretary General have any reaction to the failure of the Gaza ceasefire resolution in the Security Council?
I mean, I think it's another example of the regrettable lack of consensus that we've seen in the Security Council between member states, and the lack of, frankly, the lack of implementation of previous resolutions on Gaza. For his part, the Secretary General will continue to support all efforts to see an end to the conflict in Gaza, to achieve the unconditional release of all hostages, and to implement the two-state solution.
And then just one other item on the bakeries that you were mentioning. The Israeli ambassador has repeatedly said in the past week that the bakeries in Gaza are turning out around 3 million loaves of pita bread per day. So do you have any idea how much this will impact the bread production? What the number might go to?
I can only speak to those bakeries. I mean, I can speak to those bakeries that we support. They are not functioning anywhere, if they're functioning at all, not anywhere at the level that we need them. Sherwin, and then Deji.
Just to be clear, our thanks to Wikipedia for the assistance. Winnie Byanyima, the executive director and head of UNAID, says her husband, who is a Ugandan opposition leader, Kizza Besigye, had been arrested in Kenya and forcibly taken across the border to Uganda, where she believes he's being held in a military jail. Are you aware of these reports? Has she reached out to the UN? What's your reaction?
Yes, we're very much aware of these reports. In fact, I was on the phone with her not too long ago. We're extremely concerned about the situation concerning Kizza Besigye's disappearance and how it unfolded. It's imperative that due process be followed, and that his family and that his lawyers be given news of his whereabouts and his condition. Deji.
Two things. Well, first about the looting incident. We heard about Ambassador Danoon today talking to me, saying that Israel has concrete evidence that those looters were Hamas. Will UN ask Israel for those evidences, or do you think it's irrelevant? And secondly, I mean, on looting, will this affect the future UN operation, or you still will deliver the do the convoy when there's the opportunity?
Is it going to make us stop? No. We will continue to do whatever we can. We will continue to try to get as many of the goods that are at the crossings to get them into Gaza, right? And I can tell you that our colleagues are in close touch with the Israel authorities. Listen, this was a vast operation, right? Trucks were either disabled or stolen. Our drivers were shot at. I know one of them was wounded. And I think you're also all aware that there was an incident not that long ago where Hamas said it had killed a number of the people who they say were involved in the looting. I can only tell you what we know, right? The point is that there continues to be lawlessness. There continues to be risk to humanitarian workers, risk to humanitarian to the goods, obviously risk to the civilians, the continued detention of the hostages. This kind of looting is just so detrimental to our ability to work, not only because the goods aren't getting delivered, but it also, I think, impacts the trust the community, we hope, has in the UN's ability to work.
Okay, secondly, maybe I missed this. I heard some rumors, I just want confirmation. Is Mr. Tor Wennesland leaving?
Yeah, Mr. Wennesland is ending his mandate early next year as scheduled. It's the end of his at the end of his contract.
As I understand, he's leaving Jerusalem on 2nd of December.
I don't have his travel dates, but I can tell you that he's finishing his mandate.
So who will be the next
January.
coordinator?
There is a process ongoing to find a successor to Mr. Wennesland.
It's a very difficult position, I think.
You know, most senior UN positions are very difficult positions.
Like your position?
No, mine's the easy part. Speaking of the easy part, Abdelhamid.
I just want to ask, do you know who are the looters are? If you don't know the answer, I have the answer. They are groups financed and armed by Israel.
What
And
is
quote me on
the question, Abdelhamid?
the question, do you know that these looters are supported, financed,
when we-
and armed by Israel?
What we do know is that these are armed criminal gangs. We've seen those reports, notably in the press recently. You know, our aim is not to conduct deep investigations into the motivation of people. The fact is that 109 trucks filled with desperately needed food to be distributed through the World Food Program, through UNRWA, was 98 of them, if I'm not mistaken, were looted, were destroyed. That's unacceptable. They were taken over by men with guns who shot at our people and who took things that belonged to the civilians in Gaza.
Would Israel tolerate seeing people with arms right in front of it? Does it make sense? It's too big.
You're entering into dialectic conversation with me, which is
No,
not
because that
appropriate.
is part of the distortion campaign and dehumanizing
There
the Palestinians.
is, as I've said often from this podium, and I think notably to Deji yesterday, one of the best ways to shed light on what is actually happening in Gaza would be for international journalists to be allowed in. Ibtisam, and then Miriam, sorry.
I asked you last week about WFP and WHO and other organizations.
Yes, you did, and I'm trying to.
Why
I'm
is-
actually. It's not. Part of it is my attention span, which is equivalent to that of a goldfish, and second, I'm just trying to coordinate answers. Miriam.
So we talked about Iran. I want to ask a question about Iran. As you, I'm sure, heard today, Rafael Grossi told the Board of Governors at the IAEA that the stockpile of uranium at 20% and 60% has raised in Iran nuclear sites. Has the Secretary General heard anything from Rafael Grossi himself, or does he have any reaction?
I mean, I don't think he's spoken to Mr. Grossi in the last few days. What I can tell you, obviously, Mr. Grossi works for the IEA, which is independent from the Secretariat. What is clear to us is that it is important that Iran cooperate fully with the IEA and live up to its commitments and obligations with the IEA. Yes, Madam. Got to be ready.
It's about Myanmar. I understand, as you just said, that Ms. Julie Bishop spoke at the Security
Yeah.
Council early today. Will she speak to the press?
She briefed remotely, so she was not be able to speak to the press. I would refer you to her statement she made, I think, to the Fourth Committee couple of weeks, 2 weeks ago, which was public, and I don't think the situation has changed that much since then.
Right, thank you.
Right, or the lack of a decision in the UN Security Council, to what extent does that harm the image and brand, for use of a better word, of the United Nations? There's often no distinction made between member states and the UN Secretariat. So I wonder, given just how hard the UN has been working to, get the people of Gaza a reprieve here, how damaging is this decision by the United States? Look, you can use the example of the Russian vetoing the Sudan situation equally, right? How damaging are these vetoes to the organization writ
Look,
large?
Lack of unity among member states, lack of unity among the permanent five makes our job that much more challenging, right? Unity from the P5, unity from the Security Council as a whole, gives the Secretary General clearer guidance on how to move on issues politically. I'm not going to into analyzing the motivation behind the vetoes of various vetoes we've seen from the permanent members, but I think especially on humanitarian and political situations, unity is better for the brand. Let me put it that way. Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Ibtisam, you're allowed.
I don't know if you saw the news report about the torturing and killing of the Palestinian surgeon, Adnan al-Borsh. And he was captured by Israelis, taken from Gaza, from one of the hospitals, and then found dead months later. According to media and local reports, he probably also was sexually assaulted, maybe raped, tortured, etc. Any comments, and are you aware of these reports? Thank you.
I personally have not seen that report, but we've seen similar reports which are extremely concerning, and I think it is very important that the various UN mechanisms, notably our human rights colleagues, be able to fully investigate and shed light on these issues. Thank you. See you tomorrow.